Howdy. Number one, sorry I look this way. I have no choice. I'm in quarantine. Number two, it is 9 o'clock on a Friday night. The US election ended, I don't know, 10 days ago now. And there is no question who the next president of the United States is going to be. The only thing that's really a question is how much Joe Biden wins by. And what I'm seeing right now is that Joe Biden is up by 5,200,000 votes, and he is going, and the only thing left is decision on Georgia, which he's going to win, and North Carolina, which he's probably going to lose, okay? But it does beg the question, how does somebody win by 5 million votes and the other guy almost win, okay? So this webinar tries to address how Hillary had 3 million more, almost 3 million more votes in 2016 and didn't become president. So my country has a very strange system, and that's what this webinar is all about. So I've asked Sandesh, my editor, to put this on and re-edit and try to make the webinar a little bit better and louder. And so I hope this works, and take care.
Hello, everyone. My name is Afra Mansouri, and I am from the College of Business and Economics, and one of Mr. Steve's teaching assistant. Welcome to Beyond the Classroom, US election. Why should you care? In exactly 2 weeks from today, on Tuesday, November 3rd, they would elect a president. I am sure many of you have heard about the US election, Joe Biden, Donald Trump. But do you really know what's going on? I don't think so. Even I really don't understand the difference between Democrat and Republic. And there is no better than an American citizen to give us an insight on the whole US election. With that, I ask that you give your full attention to Mr. Steve, also known as the Coke guy. Steve was born and raised in a farm in the state of Iowa. He graduated from the College, the same college that His Excellency Isa Kazim attended with Steve. He graduated with economic and business administration degree. He was the student body president, resident assistant, and teaching assistant. Being a citizen from Iowa, from the state of Iowa, he get to meet all the president candidates. Okay, and he prefers to be called Steve or Mr. Kranz. So I'll make that my first question for him. Why do you say that, Steve? Why do you like to be called Steve or Mr. Kranz?
Thank you, Afra. That was a very nice introduction. The answer to that question is quite simply that if you are listening to me because I have the name doctor in front of my name, then that's not a good reason for you to listen to me, particularly on this topic, because I have had a few classes in political science. I am not a political scientist. I'm certainly not a doctor in political science. And so everything I'm giving you here today is my opinion, my growing up in the state of Iowa, where I'm incredibly lucky that I'm incredibly lucky to have been born and raised in Iowa, where we get to meet all the presidential candidates. And so I also very much believe in what's called, anyhow, does that answer your question? So I don't like to be called Mr. Steve because I prefer Steve or Mr. Kranz, but definitely not Dr. Steve and definitely not Dr. Kranz.
Okay, thank you.
So yes, so Afra, so I want to kick it back to you, and I know there, if for those who have not already done the form, if you can ask them to do the form, or send it to them again.
I think most of them answered the form.
Okay,
So do you want me to?
but just send it again, because in case somebody has joined since the beginning of this. And so, if people have sent, please send. If you're just joining, if you haven't filled out the form, please do, and we'll get to that in a little bit here. And
I have a question
yeah,
from Hashim. He's asking, did you meet Joe Biden?
yes, I've met Joe. First time I met Joe Biden was in 1987, so I'm really old. That we're going to get to that in the talk. Trust me. Yes. If there are any other questions, I'll dive into my presentation. Okay, I'm going to assume it's good to go. Today, and you are seeing the PowerPoint. If you're not, speak up, Afra or Saeed. You are seeing the PowerPoint, correct?
Yes, we can see the PowerPoint.
Great. Okay. So today, our agenda, what we're going to talk about is the fact that I'm an incredibly lucky person, that I was born and raised in Iowa. We're going to talk about politics. So that's kind of what you came here for, is politics. But trust me, I'm talking about a lot more than politics. Friendship, college life, and lifelong learning. And so after I discuss everything I'm talking about, if at the end I've missed one of these topics, please come back and tell me what I missed. So first I want to say, I did not mean to kick out of the presentation. Okay, why does it? Ah. Okay, why? Okay, this is the night. Okay, so first I wanted to take a moment to show you the state of Iowa. This is where I'm from. If you picture the United States, so it looks like it doesn't look like that big of a state or anything, I realize, but believe it or not, Iowa is almost twice the size of the UAE. So the U.S. is just a super huge place. And so the state I'm from, you can see the map back here too. The state I'm from is that red place in the middle of blue. I am dedicating this conversation today to my dear friend Sheila. And there's a reason why I'm dedicating this to her. Sheila is one of my absolute best friends in the world. She was a colleague of mine at the last place I was working at. And I'm going to get emotional if I talk about her too much, because Sheila is battling cancer right now, and she's in remission, alhamdulillah. She's in remission. She's doing okay. But this is somebody I dearly love. And I want you to know that she is a diehard Republican. So this picture I have of her is this. So Sheila is the woman in this picture that you see with the blonde hair, whatever, looking up adoringly at Rick Perry. This is the guy who she most wanted to be president of the United States. And so in 2012, I was back in Iowa during the caucuses, and so she had an opportunity to meet the Republican guy that she most wanted to be president of the U.S. He's currently the energy secretary for the U.S., and he was just in Dubai. I don't know, not that long ago. He was in the Emirates a little while ago. But the point I'm making with this, is that I don't make friends based on politics. I have many Republican friends. I have many friends who support Trump. I have many friends who, I have people on my side that I don't really like. So I don't make friendships based on someone's politics. And Sheila and I are fierce debaters. And in 2004, when George W. Bush was running against John Kerry, Sheila and I actually debated in front of our university. So the university I was teaching at, Sheila and I did a debate. And it was an hour-long debate, and we fought. It was an intense debate. But afterwards, we went to dinner. And because she and I are good friends, and we can disagree completely on politics, but we're not going to let that interfere with our friendship, okay? Yeah, so again, this is dedicated to Sheila for that reason.
Steve, I have a question
yeah.
before you.
What
is the difference between a Democrat and a Republic?
Well, I hate to disappoint you, but I'm actually can't get into that. That's a great question, but I can't get into it because if I start explaining the difference between Democrats and Republicans, that would be a whole hour in itself. So what I want to get into in this one is with the purpose of this talk is to get into how America selects a president, and that's enough of a weird topic to take up that I don't need to add the difference between Democrat and Republican. If I were to summarize, and I'm not even sure in today's age if this is necessarily true. In general, Democrats believe in the government being more. I don't want to do a definition. If I do a definition, someone's going to come back and say you didn't do that definition right. So, but it is safe to say I'm a lifelong Democrat and Sheila is a lifelong Republican, and we're both good people. Okay, it's a different philosophy of how you view the world. So, yeah. Okay. So I do want to talk about my home. I do want to talk about Iowa first. And this is literally my home. This is where I was born and raised. This is the cornfields of Iowa. This is my home in summertime. And that's even, you can see my dog in there. My dog who's still alive, doing well back in Iowa. Old for a pug. He's 16 years old now. But this picture means a lot to me because earlier in August, a storm came through and pretty much everything you see in this picture is gone. So my childhood home was destroyed in early August. I'm not saying this to bring up sympathy. I'm just giving you a fact. It is what it is. This is, yeah. I came here in 2008, and I've been here now for, this is my fourth election. So 2008 was with Obama, 2012 with Obama versus McCain in 2008, Obama versus Romney in 2012, and then Clinton versus Trump in 2016, and now 2020, Trump versus Biden. But as I've come here to the Emirates, I actually kind of wanted to say goodbye to politics a bit in America. That's part of what the appeal of being in the UAE is that I don't really, as much as I am political, I don't necessarily want to be that involved in politics. And so I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here in the UAE. As you can see, you know, for National Day, I often, I like to think I make a pretty good looking, okay. The other, when I talk about home, I put these slides in the wrong order. I apologize. But going back and forth and so forth is what my students are used to. In this picture, you see my mentor. So I graduated from Coe College in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Afra mentioned that in the introduction, and also she also mentioned there that the leader of the Dubai Stock Exchange, His Excellency Asa Kazem, also graduated from the same college. Asa and I went to a college that was very small, only 1,200 students, and we were both economics majors, and the economics department was really small there, and we only had 3 professors, and those 3 professors made it a goal to prepare us for life. And so this January, so the guy you see in this picture, again, I have to get off this picture. have to get out that picture because he was my mentor, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And unfortunately, he died too young. So again, another sad thing. That's not what I'm going for this thing. But what I'm trying to get across here is that the college I went to, Coe College in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, is something that's on my mind a lot lately because a good friend of mine just became the president of the college, and so I'm happy for that. And I wish we here at UAEU were able to replicate the type of experience that His Excellency Asa Kazem and I had at Coe College, because the big thing, this whole beyond the classroom that I'm doing right now, is the type of thing that was strongly encouraged at Coe College, and that's why I'm doing it here. I want to do the same thing for my students, like making Saeed and Afra my teaching assistants and giving them that experience. I had that experience. I'm trying to do the same thing for you here that I got when I was at Coe. I hope that makes sense. And so in January, I went back to Cedar Rapids and went back to my alma mater, and I gave a talk on the development of the UAE economy. And I explained to students there how the UAE economy developed. And before I did that, I, of course, ran it by my local friends here, Dr. Rashid, Dr. Mohammed, Dr. Hanan. I ran it by my local friends here to see what they thought, am I doing it fairly? Because I have no desire to represent Iowa incorrectly to you, and I have no desire to represent the UAE incorrectly to Iowans. So if you're in my management class, this is kind of like being a liaison. I'm going back and forth. Okay, never mind. So back to politics. I am very political. I love politics. I love whatever. What you see here, this picture here is, I took this picture of Barack Obama in the summer of 2007. The two women in the background are very good friends of mine. And the fact I was able to get it autographed and get copies made for them made them extremely happy. So yeah, and I met Obama several times, but believe it or not, I didn't have a picture taken with Obama because in 2007, I didn't think he'd become president. So I didn't even bother getting a picture taken with him. Oh, somebody asked about Joe Biden. Yeah, so this is a rally in January. When I was back in January of this year, that's Joe Biden in the background. I didn't get up close to him because there's kind of a politeness rule when it comes to politics that if it's not your candidate, if it's not your guy, then you don't try to get up close and have your picture taken with him. I hope that makes sense. It's a politeness thing. So at this Joe Biden rally in January, I'm close, but I'm not right next to him because that's just being impolite. The guy I did support in this election season, because I know that question's going to come, the guy I did support is this guy. His name is Mayor Pete, and I hope someday he is the president of my country. I think he's absolutely amazing. So, and of course, this is the picture. This is a picture from 2007. I expected Hillary Clinton to be the president of the United States in 2008, and so I thought she'd be elected in 2008 and become president in 2009. So this picture is from 2007, and yeah, I was with because this is the great thing from the state I'm from. We get to meet all the candidates, and that is if you want to. Now, the majority of Iowans care about politics about as much as people here care about politics. It's not, most Iowans don't take the opportunity to go see the people. They just don't. But yeah. So, but I bring it back to, oh yeah, forgot about this thing. So this is somebody you probably don't even recognize. His name is Al Gore. He ran against George Bush in 2000, in the year 2000. And I took this picture in the fall of 1999. I took this picture. And Al Gore actually, he was the vice president of the United States, and he was running for president. And he liked this picture so much that he actually asked for a copy. So he has this picture hanging in his house somewhere. Yeah. I'm incredibly lucky, is the point I'm trying to get this. So if you felt bad for me about my farm and whatever, whatever, that's not the point. I'm also not wanting you to think I have WASTA, because I don't have WASTA either. But I want to bring it back for people who have joined the presentation at any point, that everything I'm talking about is about how America elects a president. It's not about whether being a Democrat is good or being a Republican is good, because my friend Sheila here is a diehard Trump supporter, has always voted Republican for everything, and she and I are very close. Okay? So, anyhow, now I come to the question that I sent to you. And that question is, when you think of US cities and states, which cities come to your mind? Before I get that, are there any questions that people have up until now that you want to pass along, Afra? Or Saeed, whatever you're seeing. Afra, Saeed, anybody? Anything?
How about Hawaii?
Hawaii? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're already answering the question. Okay. Now fine. If we're going to that, I'll get to that. That's fine. I need to switch something then. So, I need to switch. Okay. So now hopefully you're seeing something that shows blue, red, purple. And so I need you to, this is where I now need to get I need to get people's responses that you're seeing. So you read out things and I'm going to type. So this is, or just have them type in the column. I don't care how I get the information. So Saeed's given me Hawaii. I can type in Hawaii. That's easy.
Okay, and someone wrote New York City.
Okay. Okay.
Washington.
So with Washington, there's the state of Washington, and then there's also the city of Washington. And they're both in this column. Okay.
California. New York again. New York again.
Okay. We're going to play this for a little bit. I really want some brainstorming here. So keep giving me more places.
Michigan.
Okay.
Can we say Iowa?
Sure. Thank you. I like adding my state. Keep going.
Texas.
Okay. Keep going. We haven't got. Come on. Nobody's heard of Florida? I'll help you out here. Nobody's heard of Miami? Actually, Miami, but it's a city. But I think you've all heard of Miami.
New Jersey.
New Jersey, okay. Okay.
Ohio.
Okay. If we've hit all the places that you've thought of, that's okay. But we're doing mostly states, so I'll just keep it with states there. Other places you've thought of that's people have submitted.
No, that's it.
That's it? Okay, okay. So here's
Wisconsin also. Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, someone wrote Wisconsin.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
That's it? Okay. So here's the shocking.
Sorry,
What?
there's Chicago also.
Okay.
Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Did you write LA?
LA is part of California, so I'll put that in. That's fine. Yep.
Okay, that's it.
That's it? And for the record, I gave you guys Florida, okay, so you didn't even give me Florida. Yeah, anyhow. So here's a shocking thing for you. I want to stop this. Well, actually, I want you to keep looking at this list. Here's the shocking thing for you. When it comes to an election, the people who live in those states, the candidates for president in 2016 did not care about. So neither Hillary nor President Trump cared about anyone in the blue or red column. Why? Because the blue states, by the election system that we have, the United States has what's called first past the post. No need to write that one down. The U.S. has what's called a winner-take-all system, where if somebody wins, if somebody gets the majority of the vote in Hawaii, they get all the electoral votes from that state. If they get the majority in Washington State, they get all the votes from that state. So if you're a Republican, and by the way, blue means, to make this clear, blue means Democrat, and red means Republican. And so when it comes to campaigning for president, if you're in a blue state, oh, by the way, the reason I get to meet everybody is that I'm part of the process that they become the nominee of their party, which I didn't explain that. I apologize. But when it comes to the actual campaign for the months of July, August, September, October, November, which we're in the campaign right now, the campaign's almost over. In 2016, neither Hillary nor President Trump, candidate Trump at that time, candidate Hillary, candidate Trump, were going to any of the places that you're seeing in blue or you're seeing on red. I should probably move, I probably did this one wrong. Pennsylvania, they did care a little bit about Pennsylvania. There's a little worry about Pennsylvania. So that's, if I can make that a little purple. But, so that's kind of the reason I'm, that's a really bad contrast. Anyhow, Pennsylvania is a unique one. But, so what I'm trying to tell you is the majority of states that you think of, majority of places you think of, candidates don't even care about it when they're running for president. Isn't that shocking? So all the states you listed that are blue, they were going to go for Hillary no matter what in 2016. The states that you listed in red, Iowa and Texas, and I could list you a whole bunch of states if you wanted, they all are automatically going to go for the Republican. And so neither Hillary or Trump campaigned in those states because there was just no point, okay? So we have in America, do you understand the point I'm trying to make here? Afra Saeed, somebody, am I getting this point across? Or so I'll go ahead, Afra.
No, it's clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the questions, when I ask students for questions in class, one of the questions students asked is America a democracy? Is the US a democracy? The answer is we're not. When you have a system where twice in my lifetime, the candidate who received more votes did not become president, then we're clearly not a pure democracy. Because in a pure democracy, the person who gets the most votes wins. And I live in a system where the person who gets the most votes may win or may not win. Okay? So that's, again, I love my country. I very much do, but that's kind of messed up. Yeah, so any questions before I move? Because I actually now I want to show you the shades of blue and red and so forth. But before I do that, I'll see if there's any questions you want to ask here.
I don't see any new questions in the...
Okay.
Oh yes, there's a question by Omar. He said, how does this even work?
How does this even work? Okay, okay. Well, hopefully I answered that moving on. Okay. So now I need to go back to, give me a second, because now I need to stop the share, and I need to go back to the PowerPoint.
There is also another question.
Sure.
What do you say about Hillary emails? What's the effects? Would that affect Biden?
Well, in election, I will answer that. Yeah, I'll be happy to answer that. So I'll answer it this way, because there's a lot I can answer to that. An election for somebody who is not the incumbent is very different than an election for somebody who is the incumbent. So in 2016, it was hiring somebody new for a job. That's very different than when you're having an election with somebody who's in the office already. So in 2012, so I'm going to answer this, I'm going to answer the question, I hope I answer it here. In 2012, when Obama was running for re-election, what's happening in an election that's about somebody sitting in the office is the American people decide whether or not they want to keep that person in office, okay? And if they agree that the person's done a good job, then they will vote for that person wins, okay? So in 1980, Jimmy Carter was president. He had very low approvals. He was a Democrat, by the way. He had very low approvals. And when Ronald Reagan came out and looked like a decent guy, Jimmy Carter got absolutely destroyed in the polls and lost the election big. In 1992, George H.W. Bush, George Bush's father, was president, and he was a good guy. But by the time the election rolled around, people were ready for change. They were not ready to keep him in the job, and so they elected Bill Clinton. In 2004, George W. Bush was up for re-election, and the president and the people decided that they liked George Bush enough that they were willing to keep him around. It was a very close election, but they were willing to keep him around. Same thing in 2012. People were satisfied with what Obama had done, and so they were willing to keep him around. When it is two non-incumbents running, so in 2008, it was Obama, there was no incumbent, and oh, by the way, in the US, you can only be president for 8 years. If you didn't know that, that's the rule. So you can only run, if you get elected, you can only run one more time. That's our rules. So in 2016, Obama could not run for election again, and so it was an open election of Hillary versus Trump. And in an open election, the rules are very different. It's just the way the game is played is very, very different. So now we're in another election that is where you have an incumbent in office. And so if the people of America believe Donald Trump has done a good job, then he will be reelected president. If they believe that he has not done a good job, Joe Biden will be elected president. So I know that didn't exactly answer the emails, but I hope that kind of answered the question. Did it, Afra?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, okay. Okay. Now, I'm showing you the map that shows you mentioned the states, you mentioned the states that, this is actually not the map I really wanted to show. So you mentioned the states that this is where I'm bad. I thought I had a good map here that showed the 2016 map. Oh well. Hi. So let's just look at this map for a minute. Although this map is too confusing. Here. This map is a little less confusing. This is the final outcome. No, this is the projection now. I really did not do my job here. This is the final outcome of 2016, okay? And in this map, you see all of the US states. And like I said, in my state of Iowa had about, I don't know, 1.5 million people vote. And Trump won the state by 9 points. He won it by a pretty good margin. And so you'll see you'll see the 6 in the center there. I don't know if you see what I'm circling the Iowa there. And so Iowa was, they didn't worry about Iowa. Trump knew he had Iowa won, so he didn't campaign there. Hillary didn't put much money into Iowa because she didn't think she could win there. That's the way it works. What happened in 2016, so most of those states that you see, that you mentioned to me, were going to either go for Hillary or go for Trump. That was, in 2016, that's the way it was. What happened in 2016, so the question I really want to address is, how is it possible that somebody gets less votes and becomes president? And the answer, quite simply, are these 3 states that you see circled: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and that big state over on the side here, California, okay? Because of the way my country does things, check this out. You can see that Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin were assumed to be states that were safe for Hillary. Both campaigns believed that she was probably going to win them. And so Hillary's campaign didn't put any resources into Wisconsin and Michigan. Nothing. And to be honest, Trump didn't put much into them either. It wasn't like Trump's campaign was that much smarter. Yeah, anyhow. Most people didn't think Michigan, because Wisconsin and Michigan had gone for Democrats for so long, it was just like, they're safe blue. That was the belief. Pennsylvania, both camps knew had a chance of going back and forth. So both campaigns did put money into Pennsylvania. And so now look at the outcome. The states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, Trump beat Clinton by a tiny, tiny amount. 22,000 people in Wisconsin, 10,000 people in Michigan. 10,000 people. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's about as many people as fits into Huzzah Stadium here in All-Ain. It's an insanely small number of people that decided that election. Tiny, tiny number of people. And Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania ended up being pretty darn close too. But these are the 3 states that Hillary's campaign was sure they were going to win, and they didn't. So so now the question is, but how did she get more votes? And to understand that, we have to go to the state of California. California is by far my country's most populous state. I think 55 million people. I'm not sure how many people. Can it be 55? Anyhow. No, it's 55 electoral votes. It's one out of 7 Americans. This is another way to look at it. 1 out of 7 Americans, if you're from one of the 50 states of America, 1 out of 7 come from California. That's how big California is population-wise. And Hillary won California by 4 million votes. Okay? So when you win one state that big, and you lose smaller states by a tiny amount, then that explains how you end up with a map like this, and Trump has 306 votes, 306 electoral votes, and Hillary has 232. So of all the running themes I'm hoping to get through here today, I hope one of them is that, I should have put this on my agenda, America's not a democracy. We like to think we are, but we're not. Yeah, so that actually, I hope I've covered, hope you understand why I love Iowa, hope you understand why I love politics, how important I value friendship, my thoughts on college life. You know, this is, I really do love my alma mater, and now that my good friend Dave Hayes is now a good friend of mine is the president of the college, that makes me love the college I went to all the more, and I believe in lifelong learning. You know, my interest in politics is not because I want to be a political scientist, because I don't. If I went for a PhD in anything, political science is way down the list. I would, yeah, because it goes back to Afra's introduction. At heart, I'm an economist. I view the world as I was trained in economics. That's also why I asked her to bring up His Excellency Asa Kazem, because both of us view the training that we received at CO to be the start of our career, and that's why I wanted to bring that up. So now I'll take questions. That's the end of my presentation. I want to take questions and find out what you want to know more about.
Let's wait for a minute to see if someone would type a question or want to ask a question.
Sure. Any questions you have, Afra, while you're waiting?
No, actually, thank you for your perspective on the whole election thing. Because some of the things I didn't know, but now I have a good understanding. Thank you.
Well, it's in my opinion, it's still very weird that I probably should stop the share. Well, actually, I'll leave the PowerPoint back up in case somebody has a question about anything about that goes into, I don't know, because one of the problems in creating this talk is the fact that I really do follow politics way too closely. It takes up too much of my time, and I could talk about 8,000 different subjects with this. So one of the things that was difficult for me was to decide how to boil this down into something that would be interesting.
Okay, Steve, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think will be the next president of the US?
Who do I think will be the next president of the U.S.?
Yes.
Well, I mean, it comes down to who the American people, if they think Donald Trump has done a good job, then he will be reelected president. If they think he has not done a good job, then Joe Biden will be elected president. And obviously, you know who I support, but that's if you want to know who, you know, the question. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be evasive. I mean, you know, I support Joe Biden. You know, I'm not trying to be evasive. I want to answer your question. So who do I think will be the next president? The answer is I believe it will be Joe Biden, because I don't think the American people necessarily believe that Donald Trump has done an adequate job handling the coronavirus and many other things. So, yes.
And there is another question also. The only point is why this city doesn't care about elections.
Because, okay, that's a good question. So look at California here. If you see the big 55, California. So in terms of votes, because you need, every state gets a certain number of votes. Oh, by the way, this is, again, there's so many things I could talk about. If any of you have heard of the play Hamilton, it's become super popular, and people who are not Americans are loving this show. Alexander Hamilton is the guy who founded the banking system in America, which has become the banking system that's been copied around the world. And was brilliant, but one of his not so good ideas is the Electoral College. So even somebody who's as brilliant as this guy Alexander Hamilton is, this stupid system we have in America of the Electoral College came from this guy. So yeah, love Alexander Hamilton. If you're an economics student, you need to read his ideas about how to create a banking system. He's brilliant. But his ideas of how to create Electoral College, oh, yeah, yeah. So to answer the question, California is a great example of a state that is super rich. Candidates go there to raise money. They go there to, go to Silicon Valley and go to they go to all the rich places and ask for money, but they don't go there to campaign because they know California is going to vote for the Democrat no matter what. Texas, the big red state you see at the bottom, I think everybody, if you know America, you can recognize Texas. Texas has gone for the Republicans, ever since 1976. So for the past almost 50 years, Texas has been very solidly Republican. So Democrats up until 2016 wouldn't spend a dime in Texas, but they will go to Austin, the capital of Texas, and try to fundraise. They will go to, so there's a difference between where you go to raise money and where you go to try to win the presidency. And so nobody's going to campaign in Texas because they know it's going to go for the Republican. Nobody's going to campaign in California because they know it's going to go for the Democrat.
Thank you for answering the question. I don't think there's any more questions left.
Okay. So.
Thank you for this wonderful webinar. I hope whoever attended got the information they need or the insight about the whole US election things. And we'll see after 2 weeks who will be the president.
Yeah, well, and so I can give you a little bit on that, because I know people want to watch. We're going to be getting results early Wednesday morning, November 4th here, okay? And I know you're going to be wanting to, you're going to want to figure out who's won when. And I think there's the big state to watch is one we haven't talked much about, and that is Florida. Because Florida's polls close early, and I can go into this at length if you want, but long story short, Trump cannot be reelected if he loses Florida. Trump has to win Florida. There's no path to his victory if he does not win Florida. Joe Biden has to win Pennsylvania. So those two states, they're on the East Coast. You can see the FL. Can you see? I don't know, did I turn off the, I turned off the share screen. Anyhow, Florida and Pennsylvania, watch those two states. If Florida and Pennsylvania go for one candidate or the other, then you'll know who the next president is. You don't really need to watch, you really don't even need to watch the other states. You don't have to worry about where Iowa comes in. No, it's really, my country has a very messed up system. So.
Okay. There is a comment from Amar saying, I can't imagine how come the candidate with the more votes does not win. This is messed up.
Yeah, well, you're talking to somebody who agrees 100% because it's been my side. It's been my side that twice in my lifetime, the candidate with more votes didn't win. And the Al Gore one that I showed you, whatever, that one crushes me the most because I think Al Gore was just the most incredible human being. One of the best politicians I've ever met, and it makes me very sad that he was not the president. So, yeah. Okay.
I don't have any more questions or comments.
Okay. I really appreciate all of you taking your time to do this. And I wanted to be done in an hour, and we're done with 4 minutes left. Yay! Have I voted yet? I've attempted to vote. Let's see if the vote actually goes in. That's a good question. So, voting from here is not easy. It's not as easy as it should be. That's for sure. If you find out that I've flown back to Iowa sometime in the next 2 weeks, it means I haven't voted, because I will fly back to Iowa if it means that's what I have to do to vote. So, thank you all very much. I do appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Well, who can register online to write? It's state by state. In the U.S., I'm now reading the comments. In the U.S., some states allow you to register. It's different, but state by state. So that's the answer to that. Thank you. So anyhow, gotta go. Bye.